Second thing that I mentioned on the early podcast were the books by David Duchemin. He has something called Craft and Vision. It's like an ebook store. These books are like $5, and a lot of them have the word vision in them. He wrote at least 2 with the title Vision, and I think it might even be as many as like 4. And I think they are very, very helpful. They're very different from David Hobby because they're not technical books. They don't teach you how to shoot, but they can just kind of get your brain thinking about, like, why are you shooting? What are you drawn to? Like, why am I shooting couples on the subway instead of like rats on the subway? What does that say about me? And those books I think are very helpful because they're dealing with the like artistic part of you, where the Joe McNally books are dealing with the technical. And I think you put the two together and they can really help you. And I thought those David Duchemin books were, and the Creative Live presentation that he did was like tremendously powerful, and it was very subtle. It was just, I can't even explain it. It was just trying to make you understand like what you shoot. And again, we've talked about this with you, but the stuff you shoot is a reflection of your personality. I was not as conscious of that before I read his work. But, you know, if you look at your work and you know your personality, there is a connection between those things. And I think that's an interesting thing to explore, and the David Duchemin books can help you do that. So those are the books that I would recommend to somebody that was trying to get a foot into this photography thing.
Yeah, I think that the David Duchemin stuff is like, because I'm very technical. I like technical stuff. It makes sense to me. But that subtle stuff, the vision stuff, it just like,
right.
And I don't really, or I can't stop to really.
Right. But I can give you an example. Mm-hmm. But I can give you an example. For example, right? Like me, you spend a decent amount of time in isolation. And it's an isolation that you choose to do. It's not that you don't have a social circle, but you very often choose to withdraw from that. Is that a fair statement?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I know a lot of times I'll go to an event and I'll barely talk to anybody. I'll go to an event and I'll bring my wife, and the only person I talk to at the event is my wife. And like, because a lot of times I'm not that social. So like we had an event here at the studio, right? We did an event, Marie Theodore put together this event, and we had Tanika from the Lingerie Football League, it used to be called. And it was a great, we had the pictures showing on a big screen, and they had like some liquor here, and it was a great little event, and I had a good time, and I thank you for putting it together. But you were here and you helped me set it up, which was tremendously appreciated, thank you. But after like an hour, you left, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you're not leaving because you don't know how to talk to the people in the room. You're not leaving because you're scared to talk to them. You're in your studio. It's not that. I know why you leave, because I've done it a million times. Is you're just like, I'd rather just go and read a book. I'd rather just go home. I'd rather play on the computer. I'd rather listen to whatever it is you listen to. That's why you're leaving. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, no, right. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so here's where we get to the vision thing. So you are you had the choice of putting yourself in a social situation, but you chose to isolate yourself, which is something that I do a lot too. And I'll give one last example. Like I say, I go to jiu-jitsu. Sometimes I'll go there and I love talking to everybody before class. Sometimes I'd rather just sit and stretch, and I actually wish no one would talk to me because I'd rather just stretch and mentally prepare for class. I'd rather be alone. Here's the point though, after all of this. A lot of your photography, correct me if I'm wrong, is people in isolation. Because when you're shooting the Pap stuff and you can get Brad Pitt, do you want Brad Pitt on the corner with the taxi and a bunch of people and a hot dog? No. You're trying to get this tight shot of Brad Pitt completely alone. So you shoot, and again, your classic shot is like a 300 millimeter shot with a blurry background and a tightly focused person, and it's that person in isolation. And you are very often in isolation. So there's a connection. So if I studied your life and you showed me the work of 3 or 4 different photographers, there's a good chance that I or someone else would go, this work was created by this individual. Right. This individual who likes to be alone very often created photographs of people who are alone. That's the kind of thing that David Duchemin's books made me aware of. I had been doing it all along, I just didn't realize it. That's part of your vision. And I just think when you understand it, I don't know, it just helps you. You understand like why you're drawn to shooting this and how it's reflected in your life. And you realize, hey, I am an artist because my life is reflected in my photography. Even though a lot of times you look at it like it's just, hey, I'm shooting Brad Pitt alone because it sells better than Brad Pitt on the street with a whole bunch of people there, but it's also reflective of your life. And like I said, I understand it because you are a lot like me like that. I can't tell you how many times I've put myself in isolation because I don't want to talk to people. I know how to talk to people. I'm talking now for the last hour, but I enjoy being alone. And I don't know, man. Like I said, I walk with Ronnie Wright, good friend of mine. You know him too. I've known Ronnie like 20 years, maybe 25. And you walk with Ronnie, it's like walking with the mayor. He talks to everybody. They go, yo, Ronnie, people love him. They talk. And I just go like, I hate this. I just want to walk like, Ronnie, man, can we just get to the subway and you stop talking to everybody? But Ronnie loves it. So Ronnie probably wouldn't shoot people in isolation like that because Ronnie is more social than you or I. But everybody's different, So anyway, those David Duchovny books, I think they can help you understand stuff like that. And I think that's valuable to understand as a photographer. So there's my advice for that.